cough syrup, and conquer. Unlocking the Secret Life Lessons Hidden in Drowsy Hallucinations by Zaliel S. Morpheus.
Copyright at Zaliel S. Morpheus. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored, or transmitted by any form or means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, scanning, or otherwise without written permission from the author. It is illegal to copy this book, post it to a website, or distribute it by any means without permission. This book is entire a work of fiction. The names, characters, and incidents portrayed in it are the work of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events or localities is entirely coincidental. First edition 2024. Published by bookbyanyone.com. Note from author, this book is not written by me, it is AI generated. Chapter 6. Echoes of the Past. The Origins of Our Trauma, Unpacking Emotional Baggage. If trauma were a person, it would be an unwelcome guest at a party that didn't get the hint and just kept eating the dip. Most of us have our own collection of emotional baggage, and if we are being honest, it's less Samsonite and more that ridiculous inflatable pool flamingo we bought on a whim for a last-minute trip to the beach. We lug it around everywhere too, only to find that it punctures easily when we are trying to navigate the murky waters of our past. It's the kind of baggage that invites itself but never brings anything useful, like a friend who shows up empty-handed to a potluck and introduces themselves as the ultimate icebreaker. It doesn't work, and much like trauma, that ice is just a thin layer above a whole lot of water that you might drown in. Trauma is the human experience's most overrated club membership. If everyone has it, why does it feel like I'm always running into people who treat it like a prized trophy? You can almost hear them toasting "Here's to my childhood trauma," while raising their glasses full of dark soda in the corner of the room. What fun is it to dig through layers of emotional baggage without a sense of humor? I suggest we start a convention where we swap stories instead of feelings. I was abandoned at a birthday party. What about you? Hello? Anyone still listening? As we unpack this emotional baggage, we naturally drift back to the origin story, the green-lighted blockbuster that is our childhood. Every little incident seems to be magnified into an epic narrative. When I was 5, I accidentally spilled my juice on my aunt's prized quilt, and she looked at me like I had taken a baseball bat to her Jenga tower. Suddenly, we were not just their personal therapist, we were giving therapy to an inanimate object. Because trauma is like taking a sledgehammer to a piñata. Objects become symbols, and in our muddled minds, we leap to find hidden meanings where there are none. The quilt represented my dreams. Now it's ruined. Help! Not to mention how our parents set a standard narrative of their own. Between their habit of emotionally hoarding our childhood faux pas and their knack for dramatization, you've got the markings of a psychological thriller. Hey, remember that time your dad pulled a laugh and learn approach by making fun of your dance moves during a family wedding? What was a moment of celebration turned to a professional tearjerker? We were managing both the comedy errors and the tragedy of miscommunication, all before we hit puberty. As we enter the world more dysfunctional than a flat-pack furniture assembly instruction manual, our emotional baggage seems to have grown its own personality. You know that moment when you think you've made peace with something only to realize that your emotions threw a surprise party to celebrate your brief moment of clarity? That's when it feels like your past is poking fun at you, dancing around the edges of your sanity, and whispering you thought you could escape. Come on, let's play. So here comes our childhood trauma, once again lit like a neon sign just outside that window of our newly decorated lives. It feels less like finding closure and more like a game of emotional whack-a-mole. To get to the bottom of it all may not offer a permanent solution, but it does adorn us with a sense of absurdity. When you come to realize that, in the grand scheme of life, we're all just absurd beings with an exuberant amount of self-deprecating humor, it's liberating. You can choose to carry that inflatable flamingo or opt for a robust piece of luggage. The magic lies in how we choose to view our past. So with the knowledge we're a bunch of quirky souls, and just maybe if we let those traumas breathe some air, we might find hidden between layers of emotional baggage that we're ready to burst. The comedy of errors, laughing in the face of pain. The term comedy of errors doesn't quite do justice to the farcical nature of our lives, does it? I mean, if we had to put our existence on stage, critics would be throwing popcorn and rotting tomatoes like they were participating in the most chaotic food fight ever envisioned. Pain and humor are like two ingredients you accidentally dropped together while baking a cake. When you taste it, you wonder if humanity's interconnectedness is owned by shared suffering. It absolutely is. I often imagine myself as the lead actor in an absurd play, where I navigate through a series of unfortunate events like a comedy sketch gone wrong. It's like fate decides to open a trapdoor beneath my feet whenever I get too comfortable, dragging me down into the pit of relatable chaos. You know the type, the moments when the universe conspires against you, like slipping on a banana peel while trying to impress your crush or accidentally sending a text message meant for your best friend to your boss. It's all comedic fodder that would even make Shakespeare raise an eyebrow in incredulous admiration. When it comes to laughing in the face of pain, let's not forget about those aha moments that come with existential dread. I remember the moment I was sitting comfortably in my therapist's office, resounding my latest misadventure involving a garden hose and my neighbor's cat, who unfortunately ended up covered in sudsy bubbles. As I described the ridiculous situation, not only did I laugh until my sides hurt, but so did my therapist. Suddenly the heaviness of my emotional baggage felt lighter, and the only thing weighing me down was the memory of that frantically flailing feline, looking like it had just walked off the set of a slapstick comedy. Humor is a great equalizer. In fact, it's as if our pain wears a clown nose and oversized shoes while performing a tightrope act above the hall of mirrors. For example, have you ever experienced something that, in hindsight, was utterly devastating but surrounded by a polar vortex of hilarity? Like the time I confessed to my crush only to find out they were allergic to emotion, a classic allergy to vulnerability. Instead of wallowing, I allowed myself to laugh at them. The beauty of laughing in the face of pain is that you turn your wounds into scars worthy of conversation. It adds a touch of absurdity to deep-rooted anguish. Every time I recount some tales of missteps, it's like I'm handing out tickets to an exclusive comedy show. Step right up, ladies and gents. Behold the epic fail circus. When we turn our inner turmoil into fodder for humor, we gain a newfound power over those emotional jabs. It's as it were throwing confetti in the air while wearing a sequin spandex suit called trauma glam. Moreover, the communal laughter serves a liberating purpose. Who among us hasn't found camaraderie in jest? Friends become allies against the backdrop of pain. Suddenly not only can we share a tragedy, but we can also savor the absurdity of it. Imagine gathering with friends over coffee, trading stories of love gone wrong or DIY disasters and erupting into laughter. Our problems morph into a collective comedy. Those friendships begin to feel like a sitcom ensemble cast where every character serves as comic relief amidst the more serious themes. In conclusion, embracing the comedy layered into our pain allows us to redefine the narratives of our lives. It shifts our perception from gloom to glitter, transforming sob stories into laugh tracks. So whenever you trip over your shoelaces or dive headfirst into an unfortunate social situation, remember to look for the punchline, because in the end the joy of laughing in the face of pain is not merely a coping mechanism, it's a treatment to our resilience and the undeniable absurdity of the human experience. Hallucinations as healing, how drowsy visions help us process. If you ever wandered into the foggy realms of drowsy visions, perhaps as a result of too much cough syrup, sleep deprivation, or both, you'll know that our minds can play tricks on us, serving slices of surrealist art that the average art gallery would charge a hefty admission fee. What if I told you that these hallucinatory hijinks aren't just for grins, and that these drowsy visions may be the key to processing our inner chaos? The process is akin to a weird, dreamlike slideshow, each filled to the brim with nostalgia, humor, and occasionally pure absurdity. You might find yourself wailing through a field covered in sentient daisies that are somehow hell-bent on providing unsolicited advice. While these hallucinations can initially feel bizarre or disorienting, they serve a deeper purpose, guiding us to unpack emotional baggage that we typically shove into the back of our minds. Who knew flower therapy could lead to profound realizations? Moreover, drowsy visions often provide us with a way to confront our inhibitions, like going on a whimsical roller coaster ride loaded with cotton candy and untamed imagination. In these states, the barriers we build around our vulnerabilities dissolve, replaced by goofy freedom that lets us face fears without judgment. Imagine my surprise one fine evening when my napping brain decided to conjure up a scene where I confronted my fear of awkward social interactions. What could have turned into a paralyzing moment instead blossomed into a cerveza-fueled fiesta, complete with banter that flowed as easily as the cha-cha slide. Sometimes the drowsy hallucinations turn downright ludicrous. While you may not always emerge with crystal clear understanding of your psyche, the absolute absurdity of these moments adds layers of healing. They allow us to take lightly the often serious nature of our troubles. Picture tripping through a dream world fully inhabited by your favorite snack foods debating about their life choices. Did I say chips ahoy? More like chips afloat. This peculiar recollection may leave you chuckling. Here's where the healing begins. Laughter, especially the unexpected kind that arises from our drowsy escapades, has a magical power to release pent-up emotions. For instance, when I found myself in a surreal debate with the talking cacti about the very essence of identity, I ended up unraveling feelings I had been trying to suppress. "I'm not a mere shadow of my past," yelled one particularly prickly cactus. In that wild moment, it dawned on me that often holding onto pain is like clenching tightly onto sand. The harder you grasp, the more it slips away. Drowsy visions can help illuminate that on some profound philosophical level, making the prickliest subjects more enjoyable. Culturally speaking, hallucinations have long been a source of inspiration. Think of the famous artists, writers, or musicians tapping into the altered states for creative excellence. Using humor as a lens, we can see ourselves as artists, ready to reflect on the absurdity of existence. Healing becomes less of a daunting endeavor and more of a playful interaction with the surreal, a relationship built on laughter and exploration. In the end, we may not always have the answers after a bout of drowsy hallucinations, but the healing properties lie not only in the resolution but in the journey. Understanding our pain is part of the human experience, and if we can do it in the face of a drowsy daisy or during a particularly odd showdown with a philosophizing burrito, then more power to us. So next time you feel the warmth of drowsiness settling in, surrender and allow your mind to take you on a ride filled with ridiculous imagery. You might just surprise yourself with newfound insights hidden under the surface, along with a hearty laugh at the absurdity of it all. The unseen cost, a closer look at avoiding confrontation. The old age dance of avoidance. If the life of a human being were set to music, you'd find that avoidance leading the way in an elaborate waltz, pirouetting gracefully around confrontation with the finesse of a well-trained ballerina hiding behind a particularly overzealous potted plant. As a society, we seem to treat direct confrontation like that awkward first kiss, exciting at first, but then you fumble, panic sets in, and before you know it, you're standing there desperately trying to avoid eye contact until it eventually wears off, like itching a poor decision. Let's take a moment to delve into the unseen costs of being a proud and persistent avoider in the grand carnival of life. Picture this: you're at a party, and the topic of conversation has shifted to the sticky situation of your friend's romantic entanglement. While everyone else is happily dispensing advice with all the insensitivity of a toddler on a sugar rush, you're quaking, clutching your drink like it's a security blanket. So here you are, watching that personal drama unfold from the sidelines like a National Geographic documentary on social awkwardness, while your inner monologue screams, "Just try something." Therein lies the first unseen cost, the discomfort welling up inside you, like a fizzy soda bottle ready to burst all over someone's new shirt. Avoiding confrontation can feel like clutching a brake mind while simultaneously being wrapped up in barbed wire. No matter how sweet you might seem, the pain is still there beneath the surface. And what's worse is that unresolved conflicts linger, transforming you into a human sponge sopping up all the discomfort around you. We tell ourselves that sidestepping the issue is easier. Yet with every evasive maneuver, that sponge grows fatter, filled with all those miserable emotional drops ready to soak the next person you encounter. It usually ends up soaking yourself first when you experience an inconspicuous emotional tidal wave that leaves you gasping for air. Digging deeper, we mustn't ignore the presence of the elephant in the room. This elephant brings along all the unexpressed anxieties we shove under the carpet like a family of angry dust bunnies. Pretending these issues don't exist is akin to holding a surprise party for complete strangers and hoping they'll enjoy your wonderful cake without realizing the list of dietary restrictions. Eventually, the hallucination of avoiding confrontation narrows down to tragedy or comedy. It's like seeing your life evolve into an episode of a slapstick sitcom, replete with smoke and mirrors depicting the failed attempts at running from your problems. Let's not forget the side effects of being an avoidance aficionado. Ever tried to have an important conversations while sporting an inflatable dinosaur costume? Apologies to your friend, but the emotional gravity of the situation is lost when you're bouncing around like a Jurassic Park reject. Such is life when we allow avoidance to guide our interactions. We might come off as endearing or comical, yet there's often an underlying clumsiness shimmering thought, a caricature of ourselves too afraid to venture into the messiness of communication. We stumble in joyous loopiness, inadvertently illuminating our deepest fears while making a fool of ourselves, and isn't that just the icing on the avoidance cake? Now, undeniably, there are moments when avoiding confrontation seems appealing. The allure of tranquility whispers sweet nothings in our ears, like a siren leading us to imagine a world filled with rainbows and cotton candy. That same siren can lead us into perilous waters, leaving us lost in the sea of unresolved emotions. While we weave tales of stunning internal dialogues that never see the light of day, we sacrifice our opportunity for growth, connection, and for discovering true freedom from that which binds us. Ultimately, confronting our fears doesn't have to be the grim task that everyone makes it out to be. It can be a mixture of misadventures and laughter. So let's embrace the chaos, toss those inflatable dinosaur costumes aside, grab a megaphone and tackle the discomfort head-on, because wouldn't you know, there's almost always a delightful punchline awaiting us at the end of the confrontation? In the wise words of someone famed for dodging their own emotional battles, life too short not to mess up magnificently. Embracing the shadows, finding redemption in reflection. As we navigate this carnival of complex emotions and existential dilemmas, embracing our shadows becomes a key to understanding and ultimately redeeming ourselves. In a world where light is celebrated, let us step into the enviable darkness. After all, it's in the shadows where we often find our humor and deeper insights, even if they feel more like punchlines from a bad joke than profound revelations. Reflecting on our shadows can sometimes feel like trying to read the fine print on a can of expired whipped cream, difficult, awkward, and messy. We've all had those moments where a past decision haunts us like a poorly directed horror film, complete with eerie sound effects. Picture this: you accidentally revealed to your crush that you still hadn't finished the book they recommended 5 years ago. As the cringe washes you over, it leads into a deeper reflection. What compels us to hold on to such awkward shadows? After all, are we merely products of poor choices, or are we capable of more? The answer lies in the reluctance with which we face our less than flattering moments. Just as an artisan sculpts a masterpiece from plain stone, we too can chisel away at our imperfections. Navigating the shadows often feels like a retro video game where you must dodge unpredictable ghosts while managing to collect the occasional bonus point. As humorous as it is to poke fun at our floundering attempts, embracing our fear of the shadows opens up paths we'd never explore otherwise. It invites us to reflect on those choices that seemed monumental at the time, poor fashion choices, embarrassing social encounters, or those nights when we thought karaoke was an excellent idea. Together, these seemingly insignificant misgivings contribute to a recipe we've brewed throughout our lives. Now, stepping into the realm of reflection doesn't necessitate a dramatic soliloquy under the moonlight, though I wouldn't judge if that's your vibe. You can sip your morning coffee while scribbling in a journal or serenading a house plant. The key element of embracing reflection lies in holding space for the messy, chaotic emotions that arise, allowing ourselves to dance with them like we're at a distorted wedding reception. It's all the blunders we've gathered along the way that pave the road to redemption. Furthermore, sometimes our shadows wield immense power as both a weight and a source of motivation. Reflection on challenging times in our lives can illuminate the areas where we've grown, filling us with the motivation to right the ship when life tosses us into choppy waters we never signed up for. Picture yourself perched on the edge, armed with newfound awareness, and ready to tackle demons head-on. Even the most daunting shadows can become allies. It's all about frame of reference. Think of it as the difference between watching a horror film alone at midnight and laughing at it in a group with friends during a vibrant movie night. The context changes everything. Redemption in shadowy reflection also lies in our ability to share our experiences with others. Humor cultivates connections, allowing us to see glimpses of our shadowy moments reflected in others, providing comfort and laughter where there once was turbulence. Whether it's admitting we once wore socks with sandals or confessing to a misguided hair dye disaster, these shared experiences crack the armor of shame. Through humor, we rally together to celebrate surviving life and enabling us to reclaim our narratives. In our pursuit to embrace the shadows, we discover that it's the combination of light and darkness that enriches our human experience. If we can harness the laughter stemming from our collective awkward moments to illuminate our path ahead, shadows shift from a source of fear to a space for growth. By merging reflection with humor, we reclaim the fun in our scars while dancing on the tightrope. So as we delve into the shadows, let's not only find redemption but also sprout a sense of joy in our journeys. After all, it's those elusive, unfulfilled dreams peeking out from the dark that can lead us to the brightest moments of laughter ahead.